Michelle Crosmer here with Plant-Based Kidneys Kitchen, and we are making salad today. This is a blueberry chickpea salad. It gives me kind of late summer, fall vibes because of the ingredients. So let's dive right in. This makes 4 servings, and we'll go over the nutrition information for each serving. We are actually going to start with making the dressing, and then we'll put all the ingredients together for the salad. So for the dressing, and this recipe is from nutritionstudies.org, and I will link to that recipe. It's a free recipe on their blog. So the dressing that we are making, so we start with a 1/4 cup of water, and we are going to add the juice from 2 lemons. So some of this stuff I prepped ahead of time. Some of this we'll do now. But we are doing the juice from 2 lemons directly in with the water. And then the next thing that we're going to do is some tahini. So tahini is basically a paste or like a butter made out of sesame seeds. So it's basically the consistency or like peanut butter or an almond butter, but it's made out of sesame seeds. So if you are, especially if you're, allergic to any nuts, then that's an option. But if you're allergic to sesame, then you can likely use another nut butter instead, or even use like a hummus instead. So we have the juice from our 2 lemons. Next thing we're going to add is 3 tablespoons of tahini. So that's what I have right here is tahini, 3 tablespoons of that. And that adds some fat, some protein to the dressing. All right, we are going to add some of our seasoning. So we're going to do a tablespoon of nutritional yeast. We are going to do 1 teaspoon of garlic powder. And then to add a little sweetness, it calls for a tablespoon of maple syrup. I'm going to do a little bit less than that just because I don't really like sweetness too much. But a tablespoon of maple syrup is what it calls for. Of course, you could substitute like honey instead, or you could leave out altogether if you want it to be a little bit tangier of a dressing. All right, and then the only other thing that it calls for the dressing is salt and pepper to taste. So that's something that I will leave up to you. Of course, pepper is something that is going to be a salt-free seasoning. I will add a little bit of pepper to this. I'm not going to add any salt to it, but the overall recipe is very low in sodium because there's no salt added to it unless you add it to the dressing. So you would have a little bit of flexibility if you added, a pinch of salt. So this is our dressing. So it's a kind of a creamy lemon dressing. I'm going to set that aside and let's get all our ingredients together for the salad. Okay, so for the salad, it calls for about a handful of some sort of mixed green. In order to get a more accurate nutrition analysis, I estimated about 2 cups of mixed greens. So, that's a big handful worth, but about 2 cups of mixed greens is what you're going to use. You're going to add to that 4 cups of chopped or shredded cabbage. Now, what I use for this is bagged cabbage that was already chopped. And just so you know, when you are packing your cup, pack it tightly if you are measuring out your cabbage. If you just kind of loosely put the cabbage in there, that's not going to be a full 1 cup portion. It's about 85 grams is the weight. So you really have to pack in that cabbage to that 1 cup, and then that's what that serving is. So this is about 4 cups of chopped red cabbage. You can use green cabbage, you can use shredded instead of chopped. You could do whatever you want instead, but that's what the recipe calls for, is 4 cups of that. I guess I'm the only one eating this, so that's why I'm using my hands, but I do have tongs, more sanitary. Okay, so then the next things we're going to be adding is 1.5 cups of chickpeas. So 1.5 cups of chickpeas is 1 can drained and rinsed. I chose a low sodium one that way. So it has 140 milligrams of sodium. I drained and rinsed it. So that removes about 50% of the sodium. So really it's only about 70 milligrams of sodium. And then this can obviously is making 4 servings. So we are at, and so of course I say 1.5 cups or 1 can drained and rinsed, because if you made your own chickpeas from scratch, then you can measure out 1.5 cups. Okay, next thing we are going to do is 1 cup of diced cucumber. So we'll add that here. And I'm just kind of stirring as I go. What I'm going to do, so the next 2 things and the only other 2 ingredients that we're adding is some fresh blueberries and some chopped walnuts. So what I'm going to do is add a little bit of the dressing to this salad, so it can start, just that way I don't want, think of it as I'm mixing it up. If the blueberries are, I don't want them to like, pop or smash. So I'm going to add a good amount of the dressing and start to mix that up. And then I'll add the rest of my ingredients, and then I'll add the rest of the dressing. Okay, so I'm going to add a 1/4 cup of chopped walnuts. Again, walnuts are a lower potassium nut compared to things like, of course, cashews, pistachios, peanuts will all be higher in potassium. So that's another reason why I chose this recipe, is because walnuts and blueberries and even chickpeas are all going to be lower potassium options. So next we add 2 cups of fresh blueberries. All right. And that's it as far as the ingredients go. We'll mix this up. Let's add the rest of our dressing in here. I probably could have used a bigger bowl, but this recipe makes 4 servings, and I'm going to share with you coming up exactly how much a serving is, and then what the nutrition information is for that. So the salad overall makes about 11 heaping cups of salad. One thing I want to point out is I did not chop up the mixed greens that I threw in, and that's something that I would do, because I think since the cabbage is all chopped up and shredded, I think that would just go better. But since this makes about 11 heaping cups, it could be anywhere 11 to 12 once you make it. But then that means, so a serving is going to be about 2.5 to 3 cups of the finished product. Technically it's, 2 and then 2 cups and a 3/4 cup. So I will portion that out. We will try it, and we will go over the nutrition information for the entire recipe. So this one I won't do as full, only about 3/4. All right. Let me show you the finished product. This is our blueberry chickpea salad. It has a lemon tahini dressing, and per serving, so again, 4 servings for the whole recipe. Per serving, it is 317 calories, 12 grams of protein, 11 grams of fiber, 45 grams of carbohydrates, 53 milligrams of sodium. This might be slightly higher depending on the canned chickpeas that you use and how much sodium was in that, and also depending on if you added any salt to taste into the dressing. 698 milligrams of potassium and 280 milligrams of phosphorus. This is a big bowl. This is a big portion. So this would likely be a serving for a meal. If you needed to have more protein in your diet than that amount. So this is good like before dialysis, people with kidney disease on lower protein diets. If you had higher protein needs, something like tofu would be a great option. If you had some leftover baked tofu, you can add that to this for a low potassium, higher protein addition to it. So enjoy it. Please make sure to comment if you tried this, like the recipe, share with your friends, and subscribe to the channel. I will see you guys next time.